Hello, welcome to the newest episode of the Financial Advantage podcast powered by the Wells Funding Group. My name is Dennis Wells. I'm super excited to be interviewing Andretta Robinson today. She's with Team Titan Remax in the Chicagoland area, an excellent realtor. Had great conversations with her already. Looking forward to our conversation today. Andretta, thank you so much for joining me here today.
You're quite welcome. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the business?
Oh, okay. Let's see. This is my 19th year being a realtor. And I started when the market was failing back in 2007, 2008, in that time frame. And I came into the market, actually, what I thought was a bad time turned out to be a good time, because if you can make it in sales during that time, then you truly should be able to succeed because that was probably one of the toughest times. I didn't know that because when I got in, everybody kept telling me how great sales were the previous years. And I didn't experience any of that. So when I came into the market, I was doing mostly short sales because we had so many foreclosures. So I had to learn quickly what a short sale was. And I think I closed more short sales in those 2 years of 2008, 2009 than anybody. So, but my background is sales. So I did come from a sales and marketing background. So real estate was always something I wanted to do one day, but I didn't know when. And so when I actually did start, I was kind of pushed into it, but I'm so glad that I was, and here I am.
Wow, that's amazing. I started in 2010 myself, and so I use the expression sometimes. Does a fish know it's wet? Because we came in. That's just all we knew. I mean,
Right.
I've heard stories of how things were in both of our businesses prior to that, but it didn't really matter at that point. It was what it was. Um,
Correct.
so what catalyzed you or catapulted you into the real estate business side of sales?
Well, it's the only business that you can name your own salary.
Hmm.
It's really one of the ones that you can literally create, make the job of whatever you want to make it. Also, if I had known what I know now, little did I know that the statistics were most realtors don't make it within the first 3 years, and that the average income at that time when I started was actually $31,000 a year. I made $12,000 my first year. I thought I had made a mistake. So, because it's like any other business, is what I've learned. You have to learn the business. You have to give yourself time to learn the business. They give new businesses, 5 years before they start to be successful. So, um, that's why, I sometimes look at some of the new realtors and, I think social media and television has everybody hyped up into thinking that they're going to make $1 million, right away. But as you know, and I know, you got to put the blood, sweat, and tears into this business before it pays off. And so my first year was $12,000. And I remember thinking I'd made a mistake and thinking that, oh my God, I'm gonna have to go and stand on a corner somewhere. I don't know what I'm gonna do with $12,000. And and I had just come from, I had just sold one of my businesses. I had a day spa for like 12 years, and I had sold that business. And so it was just me and real estate. And so my second year, I was very fortunate to get a mentor, which is very important in this business. And the mentor that I had, she looked at me and she said, one day you're going to be great. And I'm looking at her like $12,000. That's all I kept seeing in my head. And so my second year with her help, I was able to double that. Woohoo, 24,000. Woohoo, right? But I tell you what, she did teach me the basics. I followed her around. I would carry her coffee. She went on an appointment. I went with her. I did anything that she wanted me to do for the first couple of years because I knew nothing. And it turned out to be one of the best relationships to this day, actually. It was just why I'm at Remax 10. She actually owns the Remax 10s that I'm at. And so, but at that time, she was just a managing broker at another real estate company, but that's another story. But she taught me everything she know. And so every year my sales grew. I saw progress. I learned more. And I think I made my first six figures, maybe year seven. Year seven or
Okay.
year eight, I was able to get into the six figures. And then I started getting all these awards. And I think I have now from Remax, I was trying to count, maybe about 32 awards over the years, because Remax has these clubs where you just keep going up and up and up and up. And so when I reached the Remax Hall of Fame, which means you've done over $1 million in commissions, that was another milestone for me. And then, from there, this business is a relationship business. And
Mm,
so after so much time, you find yourself not having to work as hard, still working hard, but not as hard because now you've formed these relationships with your clients and you're getting referrals. And so by I would say year five, I was starting to get referrals. And so I didn't have to hustle so hard. So 80% of my business is referral business.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I want to pick up one little phrase that you mentioned in there with your mentor
mhm.
and how she told you were going to be great. And I think that is one of the things that's huge are those people that are able to speak faith into our lives.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and here you are, these years later, realizing what she spoke into your life, but
Yeah.
also, still working with her and having that relationship.
Yes, it's very precious. Um, I watched her go from actually, it's so funny, backstory. We were at another real estate company before we came to Remax, and I actually watched her. She had previously owned that real estate company, sold it. So she was just managing it. And we were in Tinley Park at the time. And then one day, the person that owned it walked in and said, "You're fired."
Mm,
And she had recruited about 32 agents. And do you know all 32 agents walked out with her?
wow.
Right. And so for a minute there, we were homeless. We didn't know where we were going to go. But all we knew is that we were following her.
Mhm.
And so she and I used to joke about Remax. We used to always say things like, "Oh, their egos are so big. Oh, we just had all kind of crazy things to say. I'm not going to repeat them all on camera, but we said some things, and little did we know that we were speaking life into our future. So you
Yeah.
never know where you're going to actually wind up. And I remember the day she called me after we had left that previous company, and she said, "I got an offer with the Remax out in Oakland." She said, and it's our areas where we, it's the suburbs of Chicago is where we do our thing. She said, "I think I'm gonna take it." She said, "What do you think?" We talked about it, and it was a great opportunity. So she came in and she reworked that whole business. And at that time, it was like because Remax is a franchise. A lot of people don't realize that Remax is a franchise. It's not like Caldwell Banker or Keller Williams. Those are corporate companies. So Remax is a franchise. So at that time, there were three franchises that she was managing. And she did real well for about 5 years. And next thing I know, her and her family were buying them.
Wow.
And then they expanded them to now there are 10 Remax 10s. So she's done great. She's still a great friend. And um, I never left. I've been by her side. I've been stayed there a couple of times, I admit, because like realtors do, you have to go out there and see what the competition is doing, and you have to listen to their pitch. I was getting pitched so often from different various companies, like, hey, come over here. No, come over here. No, come over there. And so one day I said, well, let me go hear what they got to say because I had never worked anywhere else.
Yep.
That was the only brokerage besides that first one, the first year that I worked. So I went to listen, and I mean, they were throwing money at me. Here's signing bonus here, there, and everywhere. And after weighing all the odds, and I was like, you know what? I'm staying right where I am. I've built a great business here. Those signing bonuses, they come with there's like a noose around your neck. Okay.
Hmm.
People give you bonuses up front. They have expectations, of things from you. And rightly so. I mean, there's nothing free because sometimes I have agents come to me and tell me, hey, you know what? Such and such is offering this and such and such. And I'm always telling them, I say, look, it's nothing free under the sun. You
Yep.
need to look underneath the offer and see what's actually there. And so anyway, I wound up staying. I'm glad I did. And here I am. Same Remax 10, same phone number, same email address, 18 years later. So what can I say?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. So here we are.
So obviously you built your business to, 80% referral, which, I agree. It enables you to, to help more people with, a lot less, you know, work on the front end. I mean, it's still work that you're taking care of these people.
Yes.
What lessons did you learn from the day spa? Obviously, a day spa, you'd have to be really client focused as well, that you feel like carried on into your real estate business.
Well, so let me back up a little bit. So I started my first job in sales was a country western radio station
Wow.
In Alabama. And there were 13 radio stations and we were 13 in that market. So I came out of college and someone told me, said, if you can sell air, you can sell anything. Because that's what we were basically selling was air. Okay.
Mm.
And I will never forget my boss at that time. I still see his face. He had this big old mustache that curled up. And he told me, he said, one day you're going to be great. And I looked at him, I said, yeah, okay, 13, where I need some business. Okay. So, but you know what? That taught me so much about sales because if you can sell air, you can sell anything. I learned
Mm.
that because I'm selling something that people couldn't even see. And so for 2 years, and I was the top salesperson at the radio station after the second year. So I was like,
Wow.
okay. So my next career move was a beverage company. I went from there to a beverage company that sold wine and beer. That was very interesting because now my job was to sell to the grocery stores. And at that time, African Americans were still drinking Boone's Farm and Red Rooster and all those kind of wines. And they really wanted to break into the dinner wine market. So they hired me. I was the first African American, first woman of four men. And my job was to go around to the grocery stores and try to get those wines in the grocery store. So I did that for about 5 years. And that market covered Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee.
Wow.
I left that and went into health and beauty aids. And
Mm.
that's when I found my juice. I relocated to Dallas, Texas, worked for one of the largest health and beauty aids company there. And they kept transferring me. They went from Dallas to Houston to New Orleans. And finally, they gave me the international market. They gave me London, England. So I
Wow.
lived in London for 2 years selling hair care products. And then I came back to the States and I worked and I went, I got transferred to Chicago.
Mm.
And I have been in Chicago now for 37 years.
Wow.
So originally I'm from Montgomery, Alabama. That's where I was born, raised, and all that stuff. So, but there was no place like Chicago. I remember when I was a little girl, I used to read the Jet magazine and I would see the top companies, black companies, and I would say, man, one day I'm going to see those companies in Chicago. One day I'm going to get to Chicago. I was a little girl. this teaches me that, you can dream, what you say and what comes out of your mouth and what you can
Hmm.
foresee, you can actually achieve it.
Yeah.
And so I moved here and I was working for a health and beauty aids company. And I think I worked there for about maybe 6 or 7 years. And I was actually a vice president of sales and marketing. My job at that time was to call on chains like Walgreens, uh, Rite Aid, those big chains. And I had a sales force of 3 agents, and we would go all around the country just calling on those stores. So I'm telling you all of this because all of my background has been sales all my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so that's why, but every time I was in corporate positions. So what does that mean? That means I had a salary. What does that mean? You can only make so much money.
Yeah.
Okay. So real estate was one of the few fields that I saw. If you can name it, if you can claim it, it's yours. And so
Hmm.
I used to always say, one day I'm going to sell real estate, one day. So when I saw the day spas going in a different direction, I decided that I would go into real estate full time. And again, that's been over, I think, 18, 19 years ago. And
Wow.
I now have a team. I remember when I didn't want a team. I didn't understand teams. I didn't want to manage anybody but myself. I had been in management all my life. And I had decided that, hey, I'm just going to manage myself and be happy. Well, I guess God had other plans because
Mhm.
my managing broker, the same lady that I'm friends with, came to me and she said, Andretta, we're getting all these new agents. She said, you would be great if you would train some of them and then you could form a team. And then the team concept will help you to retire. That's the magic word she said, help me to retire. When she said that, I was like, well, maybe I better think twice about this.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did, and I've had a team now for about maybe 9 years, and pretty solid, pretty solid. Has it's had its lumps and bumps because managing a team is just like managing being a managing broker, pretty much, because
Hmm.
you're responsible for that team. So, but I keep my team small. I right now, my daughter now is on my team, and she has a lot to live up to, and she really don't like it. She's like, oh gosh, everybody compares me to you, mom, and she doesn't really like that. Because she likes the marketing end of it more, to be honest with you. But she has been responsible for branding me, making sure that I'm up on technology. She's a millennial. So, she knows all those things. So she was a great addition. So having a team really is a wonderful thing. I have a young man on my team who is a superstar. He's a
Hmm.
superstar. He
Hmm.
hustles just like I do. And I told him in the first 2 years, I said, I'm going to get you to 6 figures. And he did. He's there, been there, stays there. And um, will I add to my team? Right now, there are only 3 of us. I may add one more member in the future, but this is my exit plan. you
I
know,
love it.
and I will probably always sell real estate because you can always keep certain clients. And I have some clients that I wouldn't, that became friends,
Right. Right.
and I'm sure that's happened to you as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, what advice? I mean, obviously, as a team leader, you're mentoring other agents. What advice would you give to someone who maybe they're a newer agent or they are thinking about getting into real estate?
Get a mentor.
Yep.
And it's hard now because a lot of top agents don't have time or don't, unless you have a system in place. And that's the other thing. You got to have a system in place. You can't just fly by the pants. One of the things that have made me successful is a system. There are certain things that I do every day, no matter what. I'm always prospecting.
Mhm.
I'm always in touch with my previous clients. You have to have a system in place in order to be successful. And you need to have a good somebody to advise you on how to put those systems. Because as realtors, we get bombarded with emails. Buy me, buy me, buy me, buy me. Do this, do that. And I always tell them, this is what I tell my team: don't buy nothing because I've already bought it. I probably bought it and it didn't do anything. Okay. I've
Right.
already wasted that money. Okay. Don't buy anything. Let's just listen to what I say, do what I say, and you will be successful
Hmm.
because I've already made all the mistakes, you know. So I would say get two things: get a mentor and get some systems in place.
Yeah. Yeah. And that old adage, there's no shortcut to any place worth going. Yeah, I think every sales industry, there's the shiny object that if you just have
Yes,
this, you're
yes,
going to be an overnight success. And it's like,
yes.
um, you know, overnight success is usually the culmination of 12 years of hard work.
And see, now we have what I call social media agents.
Hmm.
So, I didn't have that. We
Hmm.
didn't have social media. And I think that so many new agents get caught up with what they see on social media,
Hmm.
all the glitz and the glamour.
Hmm.
But if you really look behind the curtain, you find that it's not what it seems to be. And it's attracting a lot of agents into our business. I think the last count, I'm trying to remember what the National Association of Realtors said. Seemed like there were 17,000 real estate agents. And no, I'm sorry, take that back. 170,000 real estate agents.
Hmm.
And so some part-time, some full-time. You got a mixed thing of everybody. But a lot of people look at this business as being glamorous and they're going to make a lot of money and all of this. And then when they get into it and see how much hard work they have to do, because you're basically in business for yourself.
Yep.
So, so if you're not a self-starter, if you don't have any entrepreneurial skills, you'll fail
Yep.
because you're on your own. You have to, who's going to motivate you? You are. You have to motivate yourself.
Right.
so,
Right.
and I'll tell you another turning point for me was the day that I decided I was going to increase my price point of people that I sold to. Because remember,
Mm.
I came in short sales. So short sales, we were looking at homes that were $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 back in 2008. So you think about that for a minute. You got to sell a lot of those houses. Okay. That's a lot of hustling.
Yeah.
So I remember the day I decided that I wanted to increase, my average home sale, and I also wanted to increase my bottom line commission. And it's a mental thing, Dennis.
Yep.
It's mental. But most people don't know is that you can work, some people work so hard, but they don't have great results because they haven't processed this mentally and
Hmm.
practice gratitude. I wake up every morning and I already thank everybody for the day, no matter
Yeah.
what. And I don't even know what the day is going to hold. But I do know that when you are in a positive state of mind and that you
Yep.
practice gratitude, that things will happen. And that's what happened to me. I remember when it did. I think it was now maybe 12 years ago that I saw a turn. And it was because I changed my mental attitude. And that's what I tell new agents. I said, if you can believe it, you can achieve it. But if you don't believe it, you're not going to achieve it.
Correct. Correct. And you got to work for it too.
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean
it's the
that
believe
comes.
in
I
it.
mean,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that comes with it because once you believe it, the work comes.
Yeah.
The work is going to come. So now you got to work it, so that you can achieve it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I
Yeah.
feel strongly about that.
Yeah. I love it. What do you see as depending on how you look at it, biggest challenge or biggest opportunity right now in the real estate space?
Changes.
Okay.
So I'm sure everyone is aware of the National Association of Realtors going up against one of the largest lawsuits we've ever had in our life.
Hmm.
And I remember when it started about 2 or 3 years ago, we said, nobody, that's not gonna, little did we know, here we are, September 17th, 2024. They are saying to us, the seller, what this is what people interpreted it, that the seller now does not have to pay the buyer agency commission, which is not true. That's
Mm-hmm.
not what it interpreted. What they actually told us was start treating your buyers like you treat your sellers.
Yeah.
Because with the sellers, you sit down and you do a listing presentation and you discuss commissions with them. A lot of agents did not discuss commissions with their buyers because it was under the assumption that the sellers were going to pay the buyer's agent. And so
Right.
a lot of buyers would call you up on the phone and want to see a house. Agents would rush out and show the house, to them without what is called an agreement between them and that buyer. So what came out of that lawsuit was you now cannot show one house to a buyer without an agreement between you and that buyer, and you must explain to that buyer how you're getting paid. Because before, there were agents out there saying, oh, it's free to you, buyer. You don't have to pay anything. I'll show you any house you want to. That's wrong, because if you
Right.
ever look at a closing statement, where was the commission? On what side of the commission statement was on the closing statement? Who paid that commission?
Yeah,
It
it
was
was the seller.
no, it was the buyer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because it's enclosed in their loan,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because when they get ready to when they're able to when they process the loan, those commissions are rolled in. They're rolled right into the loan. Now the seller did agree on what they would pay out of that loan, but at the end of the day, the buyers always paid the commission. But
Mm-hmm.
it's all language. It was all
Right.
language. It was all in how it was perceived to be. So now they're telling us, listen, you got to change that perception. That is not the way it's going to be. And you must learn it a new way. But guess what, Dennis? I've always signed a buyer's agreement. I never
Mm-hmm.
went out with a buyer without an agreement. If a
Yep.
buyer didn't sign my agreement, I wouldn't show him a house. So, but that's new to a lot of agents.
Yep.
A lot of agents. The majority of the agents were working without buyer's agreements. So that's one of the biggest changes. And it gives us an opportunity now to sit down with buyers and explain to them exactly how the process works, which they
Mm-hmm.
should know anyway.
Right.
Okay. But they should know how is this agent that's working for you getting paid? And how much is that agent getting paid? And
Right.
so we get a chance now. They separated it. They just separated. You got the seller's commission and you got the buyer's commission.
Yep.
And but it still comes together into one. But we just
Mm-hmm.
have to explain it better. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a
Um,
major change for our industry, just so you know. And a lot of agents dropped out.
yeah. Yeah. That's one of the three results, from my perspective on the lending side. One of the three results is, people are going to drop out.
Yeah,
People are going to rush to the
yeah,
bottom. I'll
yeah,
show you a house for $500,
yeah.
or agents are going to be able to show their worth. And
Show the value.
um, yeah, I mean, and part of it, like you're saying, it's always been, you know, you could have bought the house for less if you weren't paying the commission to the buyer's agent.
Right,
So now it's out there where, like what we've been saying for years, right? Do you want a little bit higher payment with lower
right,
closing costs? Or do you
right,
want, a little bit lower payment with a little bit higher closing costs? And
right,
it's the same thing. Do you want to finance in have the seller pay the commission? Your payment's a little bit higher. If
right.
you want to pay the commission yourself, you can probably get a little bit lower of a payment.
Correct.
But again, now the agent is, having the conversation with the buyer, explaining their value, what they're
Exactly.
doing, how they're supporting them,
Exactly.
and and I 100% believe a great buyer's agent is worth every penny, maybe probably
Oh
more
my
than what they're being
goodness.
paid.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and so it's just a matter of helping people understand that, and even something as simple as, what is your time worth? You know,
Right.
the more someone makes, the more willing they are to trade money for time. And that's really part of what you're doing. It's like, do you want an unpaid part-time job to save a couple
Right,
bucks?
right.
Or, or do you want a professional representing you and helping you through the process?
Because we don't get paid until the house closes.
Yep.
So therefore, you have to form a relationship with the person that you're working with. And now you have an agreement in writing with that person. Now let me give you a little side story. The other day, an agent called me crying from another company. She just wanted
Mm,
my advice. And I get that all the time, by the way. I get agents calling me all the time from other, and I don't mind helping. If I know
mm-hmm,
anything, I'll share. But she called me crying because her company put a clause in the buyer's agreement that said if the buyer canceled, they had to pay $2,000 to
mm,
that agency.
mm,
So if they never showed one house and you canceled, this particular agency said, you owe me $2,000.
mm,
I was shocked. I was shocked. And so I said, how? So what happened was the buyer's attorney got hold to the agreement and said, you shouldn't sign this.
mm-hmm,
The agency let that agent go
mm.
because she didn't comply to the agency rules. So remember, there are overlays, just
Right,
like you
right.
guys have overlays. So you got the national agreement
Mm-hmm,
and you
mm-hmm.
have your agency agreement.
Yep.
And so that particular agency agreement wanted to charge a $2,000 cancellation. And I said to myself, here we go.
Yeah, yeah.
Here we go. It's going to be all kinds of interpretations until this thing settles down. If I was a buyer, would I sign a $2,000 cancellation before you even showed me one house? Absolutely not.
No.
Unless you've explained your value to me so well that I'm confident that you're going to find me the house that I want. But
Mm-hmm.
what if you can't?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you'd have to be referred in with value, extreme value to that person, and have a lot of trust that's already there, and then trust built through that presentation of here's what I do for you, here's what I've done for others, here's what I'm doing for you. But even then, you know,
Uh,
yeah, that's there's a lot of trust that would have to be built
now,
up
now,
for
granted,
that amount.
now, granted, Dennis, there are some buyers who do just waste our time.
Right,
Okay,
right.
that does happen. You have buyers if you don't what's the word I want to use? If you don't vet them good enough, you don't
Mm-hmm.
know if they're just out here looking. Because there was a time, people call you up and say, "Hey, I want to see a house," and you run meet them at the house.
Right.
No agreement, nothing. So you got buyers out here that may not ever buy anything. They just want to see houses. Though I get the cancellation fee. I get that. I got that. Makes sense to me, on some level.
Mm-hmm.
$2,000 is quite a bit of money to lose if you never see a house.
Right. Right.
So, but anyway, so what we're seeing now is these kind of changes in our business. We're seeing a lot of, um, and this is going to be going on all for the next year, because
Mm-hmm.
until things settle.
Right.
And,
Right.
and but that's what real estate is all about. To me, that's what makes it so exciting because it's always changing.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
One thing about it, you're not going to be bored in this business.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, so that's where
Well,
we are.
yeah. Well, Andretta, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. It's been fascinating again to talk with you and hear your heart. And I am sure there are a lot of people in our audience today that would love to get in touch with you and learn more about you, or learn about being mentored by you. What's the best way for them to reach out and get a hold of
Oh,
you?
I'm so easy to find. If you Google Andretta Robinson, all kind of things will come up. Fortunately for me, good things.
Nice. I love it.
So it's easy to find me. I'm everywhere. All social media, just put my name in, you'll find me. You put it, like I said, you can go to any Google, DuckGo, what is that? DuckDuckGo, put my name in, it'll come up. And there's an email address. I'm on the Remax roster. You can put Remax in and put my name in. It's so easy to find realtors. It's not hard. It's hard to hide us.
I love it.
At least the successful ones anyway.
I love it. That is
Okay.
awesome. That's awesome.
All
Well,
right.
thank you again for
All right,
being
Dennis.
with us here today.
Okay.
To our listeners, thank you for listening in. Appreciate all of our subscribers. If you've not had a chance to subscribe, like, or share, we would love for you to do that. And we are powered by the Wells Funding Group. You can reach the team at 219-230-8400. Andretta, thank you again so much for being a part today.
Thank you, Dennis.
All right.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye-bye.
Bye.